Today we will be changing this one gang receptacle, and we're going to be putting a decora like I've been doing throughout the house with the new or the newer faceplates that come with no screws also. First thing, I'll be showing you what I do, but this should be done by a licensed electrician. Power has been shut off already by the breaker, and I show in one of my videos how to use a breaker finder, which is the simplest thing in the world. So you plug something in here, the transmitter part, and you go and scan your breaker panel, and it tells you which one it is. Super simple. You don't have to be shutting off all the breakers till you guess the right one. But even after I turn that off, I come and I recheck over here, and I also check in the back once I pull this out, the receptacle out, because I want to make sure there's not another wire back there that could be passing over through there and could be making something hot back there. So I'm going to do this one with a screwdriver. Normally I use my drill, but just to show how easily it is to be done with a screwdriver also. I am using, of the three options for all of the screws, the ones in there that you have between Phillips, flathead, and square. I'm using the square. Square is called the Robertson screw because Phillips tends to jump sometimes if they get messed up, and flathead slide out. Square seems to be the one that stays in spot the most. Now here's something that, in case someone doesn't understand, and then here's what I do. First of all, I check back there, make sure there's no other wires going through there. I mean, I do a visual. I could tell that there wasn't, but I showed you how I check anyways by sticking it in there in case you have other wires. Normally you're only going to have a ground. The white should be normally neutral, and the black should be hot normally. But with that said, get the Robertson. You never know. You never know what the last guy did. So normally you only have one ground and one neutral and one hot. Why there's two here? Simple. This is doing a daisy chain and taking power's coming in through one set of Romex, bringing the hot with the neutral, and then you're feeding out off of the other set a hot and a neutral to go to another receptacle. The reason I could do that is because these two things, and same thing on the other side, these two neutrals are connected via a little metal tab here, and the same thing with the hots. So whatever you feed, whether it's coming in through here or coming in through here, the other one will get power. Same thing on the other side. Now, why do they put the tab? Then I forgot to unscrew the ground there. Why do they put that tab? Because there's an option to remove it, to isolate these two for a couple of different reasons. One will be, and by the way, I'm talking, that's why I kind of like do one thing and put the screwdriver down, because concentration, while you're explaining something, especially something that's not exactly what you're doing in the moment, because I'm talking about now splitting that, which I'm not doing it. But so when you split it, you could bring in, instead of just one hot and one neutral, you could bring two hots and two neutral from two separate breakers. The reason one would do that is if you want to feed these independently. So whatever two things you plug here, don't feed off of one breaker only. That one line coming in hot, that one Romex bringing the hot in. So by bringing double, you'll feed this one and two independent breakers. And that's done in an application where you're going to be consuming a lot out of this outlet. Like if this was in the kitchen and you had two microwaves, you'd want to do that. Feed one from here and one from here, so they'd be separated. Two different lines coming in, and you separate them here. Now, of course, the other option is if it's new construction, put a double gang, and then I have 4 plugs. But what if you didn't need all 4 plugs and it's going to look ugly? It's just a microwave that's going to go there. Why would you want to have 2 extra plugs? Where put one line to this set and one line to this set, and then you have 2 extra outlets there that you're not going to use. So yeah, that's one application. And the other one would be that you come over here with one hot, right, from the breaker with one set of hot and neutral, and then from the other one you come with a set of hot and neutral from a light switch. And that will be so that you could turn on and off the light switch, and it'll give on and off power here. You might have something connected here that you might want to connect from a switch. So that's a reason there why those possibilities are there. But generally speaking, I want to say the overwhelming amount of the time what's done with these when they're in use, it's not for a switch and it's not for bringing double power. It's to daisy chain to put multiple receptacles in a room under the same breaker. Let me split this open here. I already took the bolt out like on the other side, but now I'm opening up the wire. You know, when I split it open, because it's tight around the bolt, so you won't be able to slide it out unless you open it. And yes, I explained this in all my videos. The reason why I don't take the whole bolt out is they're pain in the butt to put back in when you put in the other receptacle. So that's why they don't come off and they come halfway on. Oh, this one wants to be a little pain. Let me do the bottom one first because it's kind of like in the way. This one was blocking this one. So now I'm gonna go with our nice decora. And the big leg, there's a spade there, corresponds to always, unless they did something wrong and they put it wrong, to the chrome one, not the gold one. Gold is too hot, which is the little leg. So hot, gold, little leg. Big one, chrome, and it's white, which will be, in this case, how it normally is, neutral. Neutral is, generally speaking, white. But why I say this should be done by licensed electricians, because you never know what somebody else did. So unless you know how to check for power, or you're connecting everything the same exact way, and you know exactly what you're doing, then this isn't, something that you don't want to fool around with, because you do something wrong and the least that could happen is it trips your breaker, but it's always a fire hazard. So just pay attention and know what you're doing. If you're doing it, make sure you're qualified to do it. It's not rocket science, but could mess up. And always put the wires clockwise, so when you're tightening it goes in that same direction, not backwards, because then it could actually pull a cable back out of the screw as you're tightening. So this one, for example, coming in here, comes in from the bottom and goes like that, not from the top end, because then it will be going counterclockwise. But I'm sure every electrician knows that. Sometimes these wires, especially if you're going to the other side, the second side you're doing, become a little bit complicated to go in, especially when you're trying to do it without turning the whole thing around. Especially when you're also using the wire that was bent from the previous installation and not your own new bent that you put it the way that you manipulate it. Oh, this wire got stuck in the wrong spot. There it goes. Let me bend it this way. Make it easy. Squish. And then something that I've gone over in other videos. By the way, this series that I'm doing in this couple of weeks is basically outlets and switches, because that's what I'm working on, but I will be going into other things outside and other connections to the breaker panel and other things. But anyways, for these, what I was going to say is, and I've mentioned this in other videos already, some people say they want this happy face like this, you know, eyes and the nose, or some people upside down. And the question, the $1 million question is, what is the right way that the code requires? The answer is, generally speaking, most places for residential, doesn't matter, doesn't fail your inspection. But check your local building code, just in case. And I'm manipulating all these wires to squish them in, by the way, because of course you could think I could just put it in with a screw, but then it's gonna end up getting all kinked up and then it doesn't look flush in the box with the faceplate on. So I try to do it in different ways, pushing it in so it could flex accordingly. So yeah, generally speaking, you can put them however you want, but you gotta check your building code, especially in commercial, because there are applications like hospitals that require certain outlet in certain spots to be upside, what we will call upside down, because we're used to doing it this way. But again, there's no upside down, or, and I guess everybody, to be safe, could put it what's called upside down. I don't know if there's code requiring otherwise somewhere that you have to do it this way. Like I said, I haven't never heard of it, but there's a lot of jurisdictions. But why is it done like this, you might ask? It's the standard. Somebody decided to put it like this from the beginning of time, and it kind of looks weird when you put it upside down now because of so many years of a certain way. Oh, this is not going to be good. This one here is going to sink in because they cut the boxes back a little bit, which is normal that they do it like that because the sheetrock guy and the Christians never get along, I guess. But so the electrician put it too far back for the sheetrock thickness is, but then the sheetrock guy cut this too big. So then the second thing that would have stopped the box from going extra deep in, which then looks ugly because it'll look, instead of like, let me show you, like that, it'll look back a little bit. Unless you're using the actual, which it's a cheat thing, but the actual plate to pull that back, but eventually starts to, you know, because it's being held by this screw from going all the way back. In other words, if you screw it all the way back with this problem existing, which is exists probably in 99.9% of every house, some outlets are going to have this issue, that the box was back and sheetrock was cut too big, so then this cannot stop. So it could be flush. What electricians will do as a cheat code is not pull that screw to push it all the way back where it's supposed to stop to be snug. Leave it a little bit loose, and then when you put the cover is actually going to hold it. But like it's common sense. That bolt's not meant for that. It's meant to hold this, not to do pressure to pull that out and push this against the, you know, the sheetrock. So it's a cheap thing that you get away with, especially on switches, because you don't put pressure, but on outlets that you're constantly pushing in and out, eventually what'll happen is this will crack right here, and there's always going to be some movement when you give it a lot of pressure because this will flex. So the correct thing to do, because there is a solution. By the way, I'll put a link down below to most of the stuff that I use here, including this solution. They sell these strips, different colors. They got them orange, red, black, and they're like little Legos. And you put as many as you need with the thickness. Sometimes that box can be back that you need to get like 2 or 3 of these little Legos like that thick. In this case, I think one is gonna do. And once you cut them, they have a little slot so you can put it through there, right on the bolt, and that creates that gap. Let me, so I don't have to take the screw all the way out and put it in with some needle nose. Let's see if it doesn't fall. Now I gotta take the screw all the way out. Yeah, fit in perfect. So now I can screw as hard as I want and it won't sink in, and it'll be nice and sturdy because that piece, that spacer is gonna get trapped between this metal and the box perimeter. This one down here is being held by the ears hitting the sheetrock. See what I'm saying? That you can't tell on the camera, but it's a little bit like that. That's why I pushed the one. That's why I kind of first like guided to the spot. Let me go ahead and put one of these screwless faceplates. Some of them are oriented in a certain way because they'll have the notch that coincides with this notch that have to go down because up, of course, they look ugly. And they'll say top, which obviously we don't even need to figure that out because common sense, then the notch goes down. But some of them have the notch on both sides, so they could go in any position. Let me get the little screws for that now. Some of these plates comes with the screws pre-installed, like hanging there on the plastic. And some come with a little bag on the side, like this one. So they'll just bring you bought a pack of 10 of those. They'll come with 10, 20 screws in a little bag. I gotta always remember to mention this screwdriver, which is my favorite. It's the 11-in-1, and I'm a anti multi screwdriver things like those. You know, whether it's 11 or 12 or 15 or 20, especially those that have a million things that you never use. I'm anti them. The only reason why I like this one is because it has the real essential stuff. Like it has number 1, number 2, Philip, number 1, number 2, flathead, number 1 and number 2, Robertson, which is a square one for all the screws back there that I love because they don't jump. And a Torx 25, which is one of the popular Torx. And here's why I like this one and not these are the ones that have a million things, because it only has those basic ones that you need, which, by the way, I mentioned Robinson number 1 for here, all of that in there, and the screws that go in, main holding the outlet, but it also has the number 2 for the bolts in the circuit breaker. But what I love about this also is that it has, and I have to mention this all the time, I'm just in love with this screwdriver, 5/16 nut driver. Flip it over, remove here, 1/4 inch nut driver. Pull this out, 3/8 nut driver, and a 1/2 inch. So this is like the perfect for electrician and HVAC people. You have in one screwdriver the most common things that you're gonna use all the time. And I'll leave a link for that down below too. If you like the video, please like, subscribe if you haven't, and leave me a message. Send me a message. Tell me what you think about this, the tools that I use here, the screwdriver, and I'll make sure to reply. I reply to all my comments. So I'll see you next time.